is she? I don't even recognize her. And that's the most difficult part. It's like trying to have a conversation with a stranger who hates you.
On January 6th, the deadly Capitol insurrection was led by a toxic mix of pro-Donald Trump extremists, white supremacists, and QAnon believers, all trying to stop the certification of the election, an uprising that was encouraged by the now former president himself. The assault showed the power that Trump holds over his supporters. Even though he's left the White House, those supporters and their ideologies remain.
QAnon is a far-right conspiracy theory movement that many people have likened to a cult. Its believers are essentially convinced that Donald Trump has been battling a deep state cabal of pedophiles embedded in the US government and around the world. And so believers think that the cabal is running an underground child sex trafficking ring, and they're waiting desperately for what they call the Great Awakening or the Storm, which is when all the evildoers will supposedly be rounded up and possibly executed. At the heart of the QAnon movement is Q, an anonymous, supposed government insider who leaks intel to the public.
My former best friend, when he started getting into QAnon, I wasn't really aware. I had just seen him saying some things on Facebook that I just really profoundly disagreed with. But he always had sort of a penchant for the 9/11 conspiracies. That was the gateway, I think, for this cult to just totally sweep them right in.
She talks about how there's a deep state, and she has this intense hatred for the Clintons because she'll talk about all the evil things that they did. She never gets into specifics. She just kind of generalizes. She talks about how, like, China is this evil superpower and they control the Democrats, and I guess there's a pedophilia thing that's a part of it. It's just really frustrating because you can see that it's not real, that it's a bunch of malarkey, but it's something that they so strongly believe in, and there's no facts to back it up. But then they'll tell you, when you give them facts, that that's all fake.
A really important thing to remember about QAnon believers is that you don't have to be crazy, you don't have to be mentally ill to buy into this stuff. It's a very gradual radicalization process. You can be hooked in with a grain of distorted truth, and QAnon really conditions its followers to distrust legitimate information sources. When you can't trust the news and you can't trust the scientists, you can't trust the political leaders, you are really vulnerable to conspiracy theories. And I think a lot of these people who buy into this stuff were just sucked in at a very vulnerable time in their lives. So at the center of the QAnon movement is Donald Trump. Believers lionize him.
There's like healthy narcissism and there's really unhealthy. And then there's off the charts bad news narcissism. That's what cult leaders are. Grandiose self-centered behavior, fantasies of power, success and attractiveness, need for praise and admiration, sense of entitlement, lack of empathy. That's narcissism. Interpersonally exploitative, sadistic, harassing and silencing, violent, lying. He thinks he's above the law.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
I truly believe that the first 100 days of my administration has been just about the most successful in our country's history.
Cult leaders want obedience and loyalty, period. They want people to do what they're told. The universal mind control technique with all cults is fear.
They want to indoctrinate our children, defund our police, abolish the suburbs, incite riots.
Q has ruined families and destroyed friendships. Many have been left to pick up the pieces, remembering their loved ones as the people they were before QAnon and Trump tore apart their lives.
It's very hard for me to trust her judgment. It seems like the more into this she gets, the more hateful about Democrats and young people and progressives. There's just this ever-growing list of like words and names and subjects that shall not be mentioned around her. So I don't know about a reconciliation, frankly. With her declaring that she's going to write me out of the will, I don't feel like I can trust her to take care of my daughter if I were to leave her. She wants to meet my daughter, absolutely. And I want her to meet my daughter. I want to be able to feel like I can trust her to take care of my daughter. I think that QAnon is a collaboration between a couple of intelligence services that really want us to have a civil war. And if those people are watching this, yeah, they should know that they've destroyed my family. So congratulations, mission accomplished.
It's basically a cult. I've heard that, you don't ever want to alienate that person because it's just going to make it worse. Don't forget that they're still your parent, or that they still have that relationship with you, and try not to let that ruin your relationship, because it's just going to alienate them and push them towards this more. And hopefully that relationship will be the thing that pulls them out of this. She won't even talk to me. She won't even have a conversation with me. She has not been responding to anything, and I know that she blocked me from her son's phone because I would go directly to voicemail if I tried to call, and I would not get a response if I tried to text. I don't recognize anything about her, and that's very, very troubling.
Getting a family member out of this rabbit hole isn't easy, but it is possible.
I really am a major advocate for family members and friends to reach out to their loved ones. And a lot of the people that I've talked with have cut off contact with their loved ones because they just couldn't take the amount of propagandizing and recruitment that was coming their way. Say you miss them. Say, how are you? I can't wait till the pandemic's over and we can party again, or we can go fishing, or remember the good old days, share photos and videos and memories. In the beginning, avoid the controversial stuff, be a listener, ask how they're feeling, but avoid anything controversial and build bridges. And rather than take a win-lose position with them, whatever's true will stand up to scrutiny. You think I'm brainwashed, other people say you're brainwashed. Let's both step back and let's talk about it, and let's figure out what really fits and what doesn't fit. The whole thrust of my work of 45 years is empowering people to think for themselves and to reality test, and to know the difference between ethical and unethical influence, and to really understand social psychology. People don't like to be lied to, they don't like to be exploited, they don't like to be wrong. And what I try to do by telling my story of having gotten into a cult myself for 2.5 years, and I could have been there on January 6th. Members of my former cult were there on January 6th. And the important thing is I got out. And I got out with the help of my family, who loved me.